All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We're going to be having a discussion about PlayStation today, more specifically how I feel like, truthfully, PlayStation, the PS5, Sony, they are kind of winning right now. And I know how that sounds. I know it sounds very fanboyish, but I don't want to make it seem like they're winning at the expense of other platforms or other consoles or anything like that, because I don't think it's that simple. But at the same time, I can't help but kind of look at what happened in the last 2 weeks and really feel like, man, if you're Sony, you're probably feeling pretty good right now. And if you're somebody who is playing on PS5, you're probably feeling pretty good right now. There's a couple of things I want to list off. The first starts with something that happened, two things that happened, I should say, in the past week. Number one, Gears of War Reloaded being announced for PS5, and number two, GTA 6 trailer number 2. Now, what's interesting about these two things is how significant they are for the PlayStation platform. And believe me, they are significant. And I'm not even talking about Sony's own games. I am not even mentioning the fact that Ghost of Yotei got a release date. It's coming out at the end of this year, that we just got massive previews for Death Stranding 2. And these are games that are going to be exclusive to the PlayStation 5. And, eventually they'll probably make their way to PC, but it'll likely be quite some time. You look at these things and you begin to realize very quickly just how much incentive there really is for people to consider going after the PS5. Oh yeah, and that's not even to mention the fact that in these past 2 weeks, Microsoft announced price increases for all of their consoles, where you're seeing an Xbox Series X going up to $730 for a 2 terabyte model, and an Xbox Series S going up to $400, right? Meanwhile, you look at PlayStation, and I'm not saying this isn't going to change, but it's just the way it is right now. Astrobot digital bundle, $400, disk drive bundle, $450. Apparently, there are Call of Duty Black Ops 6 bundles on the horizon that are going to be priced the same. This is kind of crazy if you think about it, right? Where on one hand, you're looking at GTA 6, a new trailer dropping, and yes, GTA 6 is coming out on Xbox as well, and I think it'll do well on Xbox. I think that there are plenty of people who still play on the Xbox consoles that are going to buy this game and enjoy it, right? But there's no denying the fact that Xbox console sales have completely flatlined, and with these recent price increases, that's only going to serve to make it even worse. I think it's safe to say that the overwhelming majority of console sales, alongside the Switch 2, is going to be PlayStation 5, right? PlayStation 5 at this point, I think, is poised to really be the kind of go-to console. And of course, we have to talk about PC, right? There's nothing wrong at all if you prefer PC. If you think PC is just 10 times better than console gaming, nothing wrong with that at all. But there is also the reality that PC gaming tends to be a little bit more expensive, sometimes a lot more expensive, depending on what you're trying to achieve in that space. There is also the fact that the things I just mentioned, like GTA 6, like some of Sony's games that are coming up, like Ghost of Yotei, you're going to have to wait who knows how long to play those games on PC. And to be fair, a lot of people are okay waiting, or a lot of people are just not interested in Sony's games. But the main point I'm trying to get at here is that when we have these conversations about different platforms, about the strengths of different platforms, the overall health of these different platforms, I tend to see a lot of negativity towards PlayStation, which is always fascinating to me, because when I look at it from a more objective standpoint, I feel like it's actually the exact opposite. We're seeing Microsoft's main competitor, that being Xbox, right? The brand and the console that's supposed to go head-to-head with PlayStation, completely giving up and waving the white flag, and instead saying, you know what, can we actually be your partner and make money with you? And in doing that, they're coming out with not only major titles like Gears of War and Forza Horizon, which are games that you would have never thought would make their way to PlayStation. Not only are they coming over very quickly, but they're even going out of their way to enhance them with the PS5 Pro and taking advantage of the DualSense, which I think is great. Got to give a lot of credit to Microsoft for making sure they're doing these things. They're not just kind of throwing it out there and saying, whatever, just be grateful we're even putting it over there. They're actually putting in the time and the effort. They're putting in the work, which is great. But you see that and you think, man, even just looking back to 2020 when these consoles were launching, this is not at all, I think, what people would have expected to happen. Now, of course, if you're playing on Xbox, I don't think you're really losing per se, right? Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this isn't a matter of something happening at the expense of another platform, but I think there is a certain reality here where Microsoft has kind of decided that the main advantage we're going to offer, and maybe the only advantage if you choose to play on Xbox, is Game Pass. But even that is greatly diminished when you consider that it's also available for cheaper on PC. And it does seem like Microsoft is getting ready to embrace PC in a much, much more significant way when it comes to gaming going into next generation. And I feel like the Xbox console, in the way that we knew it, is pretty much done. And I don't necessarily know that I want to quantify that as like losing, but it's definitely not the outcome that I think anybody who invested in an Xbox console at the beginning of this generation or in previous generations would have necessarily wanted or anticipated. However, I do think that if you are somebody who decided you wanted to, purchase a PlayStation 5 at the beginning of this generation, or you've been contemplating it and you finally did make that decision, I feel like you're going to be getting more than you even signed up for, right? Because I can tell you this right now. When I bought a PS5 at the beginning of this generation, of course I anticipated something like GTA 6. Of course I anticipate Sony's games and a lot of third party. Did not anticipate Microsoft's games being part of that. And so, yeah, I just feel like it's an interesting conversation to have when you consider all of these different things that happened even just in the last 2 weeks. It remains to be seen if Sony's going to decide to increase the price of their console, games, and accessories like Microsoft just did. If that does happen, we will be having a different conversation, and the conversation will be altered. I think all of the things that I just mentioned that, make it so that Sony is kind of quote-unquote winning or whatever, I think that will be greatly diminished, but at the same time, those advantages to an extent will still exist. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen there. But as of right now, man, it's looking really good, right? I play on PlayStation. I'm looking forward to games like Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei. I'm looking forward to see if Sony has any other titles they're going to announce. And you could maybe make the argument that, well, that's not a lot of games, right? That's not enough. And sure, but in between that, we have not only just regular third-party titles that were always going to make their way to PlayStation, we have GTA 6 coming next year, and now we even have Microsoft titles making their way over to the platform. I mean, really, at this point in time, it feels like you have more than ever to choose from, when it comes to games, when it comes to different types of games, when it comes to the different publishers that are bringing their games to PlayStation. And I think that's a pretty big deal, when you consider that at the end of the day, people, when they make these decisions, they want to have some kind of idea of how many options do I have, right? And granted, I know that there are always going to be PC players who, no matter what, to them, PC will always be the best place to play. It'll never not be the best place to play. Again, I'm not here to tell you you're wrong about that. I'm just here to basically speak as a PlayStation player as to, some of the advantages, if not advantages, just some of the highlights that I think are absolutely worth going over at this moment in time, considering how many different things just happened, how many different announcements just occurred. But the last thing I'll say here before wrapping it up is that if there's something this generation has taught me is that, man, anything can happen. Right? You never really know how a generation's going to play out. And even though we look at the PS4 and Xbox One gen, the 360 PS3 gen, and it seemed like there was a very clear trajectory in where things were going to go and how it was all going to play out, I think it's safe to say at this time that you really just don't know. And you kind of got to be ready for anything. So for all I know, a month from now, everything I'm saying could be negated, right? But that's going to do it for this discussion/opinion video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you agree with what I'm saying here? Do you disagree? Are you kind of in the middle? I'll be really interested to see what you have to say. Leave the video a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.